The newest cover of this book shows that praying is like sending a text message to God. That cover is deceptive because the book doesn't have any cell phones or texting. The cover would have been incomprehensible when the book first came out in 1970. Argo Font Book Review, Argo Font Book Review. 11-year-old Margaret Simon is unhappy when her parents suddenly moved to New Jersey to get away from her grandma Sylvia. A classmate named Nancy Wheeler invites Margaret to run under the sprinklers. When Margaret changes into a swimsuit, Nancy laughs that Margaret is still flat. Nancy asks about Margaret's kissing experiences before showing off her kissing moves on a pillow. This scene weirded me out. Nancy's getting a little personal with someone she just met 5 minutes ago. And she'll get a lot worse as the book continues. Nancy has a secret girls club. She says Margaret can join if she doesn't wear socks on the first day of school. Margaret prays to God regularly. I like these prayer segments. They're simple and sincere. She can be honest with God in a way that she can't be with other people, especially her parents, who dislike any mention of God or religion. Mom and Dad are unhappy when Grandma Sylvia comes to visit. The 6th graders are surprised to get a male teacher named Miles Benedict. He's a first-time teacher, too. I can't blame him for being nervous. Nancy's club has its first meeting with Margaret, Janie Loomis, and Gretchen Potter. Nancy starts by making a snide comment about Gretchen's weight. That's rude, but it's nice compared to the way the girls talk about Laura Danker. Laura is the largest girl in school. The other girls hate Laura because she has big you-know-whats. They think she dresses that way on purpose to get attention from boys, especially the teacher, and she even goes with boys behind the A&P. The girls give themselves fancy club names like Alexandria and Kimberly. They're surprised to learn Margaret isn't any religion. They make club rules, like you have to have a list of boys you like, and you have to wear a bra. Margaret is embarrassed to go bra shopping with Mom. Mom talks to people there. So embarrassing! It's also embarrassing when she runs into Janie buying bras. At the next club meeting, Nancy says there's a secret exercise you can do to make yourself bigger. You pump your elbows together while chanting, I must increase my bust. Nancy says you'll get results if you do that 35 times a day. The girls do this so often, I feel like the book should come with a disclaimer to let young readers know this is just a joke that doesn't work in real life. In gym class, it's announced the girls will get a special lesson on female topics. Margaret complains school shouldn't wait until 6th grade because kids already know everything by then. I don't know, Margaret. You think sing-song chants will change your bust size, so maybe you don't know everything about sex ed. The girls giggle at the way the presenter says menstruation, and they're disappointed to learn the lesson is basically a commercial for private lady sanitary supplies. The students prank Mr. Benedict by making bird noises in class and not signing their names on tests. Mr. Benedict responds by rearranging the seating chart. Margaret is mortified to be sitting next to Laura Danker. Mr. Benedict announces a year-long project on any topic you want. Margaret decides her project will be deciding what religion she wants to be. She goes to temple with Grandma Sylvia, and she goes to First Presbyterian Church with Janie Loomis. Both times, Margaret likes the music, but the Bible readings and the sermon don't make sense to her. Going to church for the first time is sort of like starting a TV show on season 4. They don't stop and explain anything that's happening for the sake of newcomers. There's a Thanksgiving square dance where all the girls want to dance with Philip Leroy, the cutest boy in school. Margaret's happy to dance with him, then sad when he steps on her feet. The secret club is curious what adults look like, so they look up pictures in an anatomy textbook and a dirty magazine. They can tell the dirty picture was edited, but they still feel so inadequate in comparison, they do extra bust exercises. I believe that when people talk about banning this book, they're usually talking about the Dirty Magazine chapter. The entire class is invited to a party where they play kissing games. I think if my 6th grade class had tried to play a kissing game, I would have run away screaming. Philip picks Margaret during 2 minutes in the closet. Margaret is flustered and happy when he kisses her on the lips twice. Gretchen gets her first period. The other club members pester her for all the details. Margaret's jealous of Gretchen, and she feels bad when Nancy gets her period not long afterwards. Margaret feels like she's the one girl without a period or religion. Has God abandoned her? It turns out Nancy lied about getting her period. Margaret happens to be there when Nancy gets her period for real. Nancy cries inconsolably in the bathroom. She is so upset, Margaret has to get her mom to calm her down. I thought there would be a follow-up scene where Margaret tells the other club members what happened. It's almost the exact opposite. Nancy and the club don't get mentioned for the final 30% of the book. Why not? Margaret turns 12 years old. She tells Mom that's old enough to start wearing deodorant. Mom offers to get her some. I can't help but feel that if Margaret's mom talked to her about puberty, then a large chunk of this book could be avoided. Margaret is forced to do a group project with Laura. They get into a fight, where Margaret repeats Nancy's story that Laura does dirty things with boys. It turns out to be another lie from Nancy. Margaret is surprised to learn Laura hates being the largest girl in class. Everyone's terrible to her, and the boys constantly call her dirty names. Margaret doesn't talk to Laura for the rest of the book. I wish there was a scene where Margaret apologized. Margaret follows Laura to a Catholic church, which has confession at 4:30 on weekdays. Just for the record, that is not a thing that happens in real life. I checked, and there are 0 Catholic churches in New Jersey with daily confession times. Margaret tries going to the confessional, but she gets confused and runs out. Dad is furious when Mom's parents come to visit for the first time ever. They disowned Mom 14 years ago for marrying outside of their religion. The visit is a mixture of awkward and boring. When the grandparents bring up the topic of religion, it predictably leads to a huge fight, and they leave. Margaret's so upset, she decides to give up on religion and stops praying to God. She reaffirms this plan when Grandma Sylvia pressures her to become Jewish. Margaret feels pretty bad when turning in a 1-page report on religion. She cries and wishes she could talk to God again. Margaret is overjoyed when she gets her first period. She tells her mom and says a prayer of thanksgiving to God. The end. Post-book follow-up. I saw lots of reviews from people who loved this book because it reminded them of when they started their first period. I am not one of those people. I could not relate to most of this book. I don't know if this is normal behavior for 12-year-old girls. If I had read this book at age 12, I probably would have been stupefied by its content, wondering if that is what girls talk about when boys aren't around. It's practically non-stop talk about puberty. I kept waiting for the club to discuss another topic, but they don't. Nancy has a 14-year-old brother. She says boys that age are disgusting. They only care about dirty books and dirty pictures. I find it odd that this complaint comes from someone who won't stop talking about boobs. The exploration of religion was interesting, especially since it's not completely explained why Margaret's parents became atheists. None of the characters realize the irony that Margaret's parents insist, "No daughter of mine shall have religion," with more religious fervor than any of the religious characters do. The book is well written, which is no surprise because Judy Blume is a great author. It's a fast read. You can get through the whole thing in 1 to 3 sittings. As I said, I was disappointed that Nancy and Laura disappear from the book. I wanted to see their stories get conclusions. I was also hoping for a scene where Margaret realizes how awful Philip is. Given the content of the book, it does make sense to end with Margaret getting her first period, but it leaves pretty much all the other stories unresolved. Getting a visit from the puberty fairy is not going to magically solve all of Margaret's problems. Overall, I can kind of understand why this book is so popular. It feels very sincere and emotional. I am definitely not the target audience, so it feels unfair for me to judge the book harshly because the constant puberty talk kind of grossed me out. I give Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, an 8 out of 10.